Welcome to the Over 40 Alpha Podcast with your host, Funk Roberts.
We are live, and welcome to the Over 40 Alpha Podcast. This is episode number 164, and I'm your host, Funk Roberts, and this is the number one show for men over 40 who want to reclaim their health. They want to build muscle, burn belly fat, naturally boost testosterone, and become the best man they can be overall, so you can provide, protect, and procreate. And today I've got an episode that's a little different from what we've been doing generally. This episode is from a live coaching call where we talked about how to sleep your way to fat loss, specifically for us guys over 40. You know, one of the lowest hanging fruits in regards to overall health, like I'm talking the ability to build muscle, the ability to burn fat, the ability to thwart chronic health issues, mental health, energy, like all of the things that we're fighting in all of these different buckets, the recovery, all of those things. The lowest hanging fruit is focusing on getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep, right? Specifically, if you're trying to lose belly fat, that could be the key element that you're missing is sleep, right? And it's the thing that we don't have to, well, depending on what changes you need to make, you may have to, spend a little money, but in general, that's the one thing that we don't really have to invest in some people do, but really invest in like a coach like you would with a workout program, or a nutritionist that you would for nutrition, or if you have an injury or pain, you have to go to somebody, to get like some mobility or recovery or whatever that is, right? Like someone to help you through that process. Or if you have chronic health issues, you have to go to a doctor. But with sleep, all you have to do is sleep. All you have to do is pick a time of the day, of the night, or what have you, when you go to bed, and focus on getting up. Now, it's not as easy as I say, but it is the one thing that if you focus on literally right away, or if that's a hole or something that you're struggling with, that is going to make the biggest difference in your overall health, 100%. So in this coaching call, I talked about sleep and fat loss specifically, right? How to sleep your way to fat loss. So break down how poor sleep kills your testosterone, how it blocks fat loss. We'll talk about how it spikes your cortisol and what that means to you and how it's ruining your recovery. And that's something that we talked about and I did on our coaching call inside the Over 40 Alpha Brotherhood. That's my membership program. And if you're listening to this right now or watching this and you haven't joined the Over 40 Alpha Brotherhood, dude, what are you waiting for? It's like literally the best, greatest, number one, no doubt. Like I'm not even, tooting my own horn because, it's not about tooting my own horn here. It's about the results that this gets, but literally it's $1, right? For you to join $1 and you'll get 30 days for $1. So that's literally phase one. And you get follow along workouts where you just click play and I'm there training with you. So it's not one of these things where you have to figure out what exercise, I'm going to be there. Like you and I are working out together. Now, obviously the workout's already shot, but phase one is specifically a fat loss phase. It's our fat loss shred phase. That's phase number one. There's 36 phases. So that's the other thing. After phase one, you move into phase two and phase three, etc. So you keep going. But the point is you have workouts, so easy. You can get it on the app or what have you. You have nutrition. So the nutrition system is super simple. It's based on my Nutrition for Men Over 40 Amazon best-selling book. You have recovery. So I make sure that, because I want to make sure you don't get injured. So you have yoga and mobility work. We've got mindset to make sure we get that mind right. We got supplement strategies. Also, every single week, just like you're going to hear in this podcast episode, I do a coaching call, but I'm doing it for 7 years. This is no new program. This program's been up for 7 years. So if you've been sleeping under a rock and you've been struggling with your health, now is the time to join the Over 40 Alpha Brotherhood. You got weekly coaching calls. All your questions get answered through my Ask Funk. This is not a joke here. My goal is to, and the thousands of men who are still in the program, by the way. These aren't guys who have done it and are gone. They're literally there because the biggest thing that helps everyone stay accountable is our community, our brotherhood. We don't talk politics. We don't talk religion. We don't talk pop culture. We just focus on helping each other and ourselves get in the best shape of our lives. So go to over40alpha.com. It's $1 for 30 days. So literally, I'm going to prove to you that I'm going to help you lose at least 5 to 20 pounds in 30 days or I'll give you your money back. You can cancel and you don't have to worry about moving through to phase 2. Although no one who ever starts ever cancels because they get results. So get to over40alpha.com. But the reason why I kind of, segued into that is because this is what we talked about in one of our coaching calls a while ago. And I wanted to share with you guys because sleep has become like an obsession for me right now. It's almost like sleep has infiltrated itself into all different parts of my life. So for instance, like I go to Harvard University, I'm doing my final semester at Harvard for my master's. So I'm getting my master's at Harvard in business innovation and entrepreneurship. And this semester, our number one project is to solve one of the United Nations economic they have this thing called the Sustainable Development Goals, right? The Sustainable Development Goals and there's 17 of them, and each one of those goals they've been struggling with, right? Like literally struggling. They can't like it would be things like zero hunger, good health and well-being, gender equality, industry innovation and infrastructure, affordable and clean energy. Like all of these different buckets are goals, and within each bucket there's like a list of like 13 or 14 targets that they need to solve that they haven't solved. And so, of course, our teacher, and because, innovation, entrepreneurship is really key. That's literally the last course I'm in for my semester, talking a lot more about AI and all of those things. One of the things that our number one thing is to solve, what would we do to solve one of the 17 goals, and inside one of those goals, the targets. So we chose sleep. We chose sleep. So that's our big thing. So literally this entire semester is all for me now is about sleep, figure out the problem, going into, using the design thinking way. But that's something else, but that's one way. So through school. The second thing is, for myself, just ensuring that for my own health, getting the 7 to 9 hours sleep. Like last night, for instance, I got 7 hours of sleep, right? 7 hours of sleep last night, right? So I'm tracking a lot of my sleep. I'm tracking my deep sleep, which was an hour. I'm tracking my REM, which was an hour. And so really, truly trying to optimize my sleep, optimizing my sleep, 7 hours, 21 minutes, so that I'm getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep every single night, and making sure that I get closer and closer to 100% sleep efficiency. Also, because of all of this, myself and Nick Lamb are creating the 4-week sleep challenge for men over 40, although men and women, anyone. So sleep challenge coming up probably in May. So so I'm getting my sleep certification, sleep coaching certification. So all of these things are all coming up. And so sleep is really key. And oh man, it is like the number one the number one thing you can do to get you the best results. And man, we're struggling with it. Anyways, I'm not gonna bore you. Also, if you're struggling with sleep, if you go to funksupplementshop.com, use code FUNK10, you get 10% off my Alpha Sleep Shred. That is what helps me to get 7 to 9 hours of sleep every day as well. Go to funksupplementshop.com. You'll get Alpha Sleep Shred. Use the code FUNK10. You'll get 10% off. It's the number one sleep supplement, basically to help not only with powerful natural sleep so you don't wake up feeling like a truck hit you, but also we have some ingredients in it that helps you burn fat while you sleep, because that's one of the best times to burn fat, and you're going to learn about that in this episode. So without further ado, let's talk about how you can sleep your way to fat loss with this episode. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the other side. Enjoy the podcast. Today we are going to talk about sleep and fat loss. I'm excited about this because if I told you that the secret to burning belly fat wasn't just in the kitchen and in the gym, but it's actually in your bed, right? And I know that it sounds strange, and you may have heard people say this before, and I've actually said this before, because we're really conditioned to, work out. Of course, we need to work out. We have to do that. There's a lot of things that are involved in why we work out. We talk, obviously, you cannot train a bad diet, so we need the nutrition piece. But even if you have all of those in place, there's still a missing link that can negate you from getting results if you don't have this in place. Now, when I say negate, it really truly hits you at a standstill, right? So those, like I said, those are very critical, but a lot of this gets overlooked. And this is, you know, really and truly it's sleep, right? Sleep is by far the like now as as I've learned more, it's the foundation of everything, right? If you're not optimizing that, especially for us, you're leaving fat burning. Like sleep in general for health, hormones, all those other things, 100%. But today we're just going to talk about the fat loss piece, which is just the belly fat, the stubborn fat that a lot of people struggle with. Even I was struggling because here's the thing, from personal experience. This was when the aha moment kicked in. So earlier on this year, I went to Dallas and we did a road trip in Dallas, right? We landed in Dallas. Sorry, we went to Texas, landed in Dallas, right? Drove all the way to Big Bend. So I don't know if you're anyone here in Texas, you know where Big Bend is. It's like 8-9 hours away from the center of Texas at the very end. So we drove all the way out there. We did our road trip. We stayed there. We, did a whole bunch of things. And then we drove down to Austin, stayed there for a couple of days, back up to Dallas. And then I presented. This was like a 10-day trip. Throughout that whole trip, every single time I slept, I got incredible sleep. It was absolutely incredible. And this was the first time I'd ever gone away like this, where I came back more lean. I felt leaner. I felt tighter. And I was like, and we didn't work out as much as we could have. We didn't eat as well as we could have because we're on the road for like 9 hours. So what was that big difference? And I realized it's 100% sleep, because at that time I was wearing my Whoop strap. My Whoop strap was telling me I was getting very good sleep. My recovery was good. So that kind of just put that aside. Now, a few months ago, I've been grinding away, doing everything I can to like maintain my physique, doing solid workouts, shooting new workouts, eating, 100% clean, taking the right supplements, but I still wasn't seeing the fat loss that I wanted, right? I was still at about 14, hovering between 12 and 14. If you look at some of my accountability, it's always like 14, 15, 12, 15, 14. I just couldn't break the 10. No matter how much I pushed myself, no matter what I did. And then I started to take my sleep more seriously, because I remembered the trip to Dallas, and I thought, you know what, let me try a sleep mask. So I put on the sleep mask, because in my bed, I should have told you, in our bedroom, where we sleep, there's lots of light that comes from the street. There's lights that come from the street. There's always construction happening at night. So there's always light coming in. So even though I was getting 8 hours, I was in bed for 8 hours or 9 hours, every time I would check my Whoop, it would tell me I was got 2 hours sleep, 3 hours sleep, 1 hour sleep. I'm like, this is my Whoop strap is broken, because it's not working. And I actually reached out to Whoop. Like, I did all of these things thinking that it was my Whoop strap that was broken, because it just wasn't connecting. Like, I would be downstairs, fall asleep in front of the TV a little bit, then come upstairs, and literally I'd be in bed for 8 hours, but it would only give me 1 or 2 hours. And I would also feel the effects of not getting the sleep, and I couldn't understand why. Anyway, so then I started to use a sleep mask, because I remembered with Nick Lamb, he talked about if there's any light or your phone or anything that's coming into that room, it's not, your sleep is going to be disrupted. Like, you need like dark black sleep. So I started using the sleep mask, and oh my God, right off the bat, the nights I used the sleep mask, and this was at one point I didn't have the Whoop yet. That's when I got the Whoop just shortly after, but I felt much better, and I felt that I was getting good sleep. Then I needed to start to track it, because me feeling something and what the data shows obviously is not going to be 100%. So when I got the Whoop back, I started to see that my sleep was getting better. I was like, okay, my sleep is actually improving. It's now the Whoop is actually working now. It's telling me I'm getting 4 hours, 5 hours. So I was slowly increasing. And then I wouldn't sleep with the mask, right? I wanted to start testing. What happens if I don't sleep with the mask? Once again, 1 hour, 2 hour. So I realized, okay, the mask is making a huge difference. So I started sleeping with the mask, and my body fat percentage started to go down. I started to feel much better. But then we did the game changer, which was the blackout blinds. We got blackout blinds, because I still said, even if I'm sleeping there's still a little bit of light coming in. So we installed blackout blinds. We got them from IKEA. And oh my God, it's unbelievable. My sleep quality literally skyrocketed. And I'm telling you right now, it went from 2 to 3 hours. Now I'm getting every day, I'm getting 7 to 9 hours sleep, but I'm getting 2 to 3 hours of restorative sleep. That's deep sleep and REM. And this is the biggest difference in me and like tracking that, right? So I'm seeing it like literally every single night. I'm in the green now. My recovery is always in the green. If you know Whoop, they have recovery, which is in the green. And but for probably a year, my recovery was always in the red because I was thinking I was getting restorative sleep, deep sleep. My recovery's in the green. Remember when I change things, I only try to change one thing at a time so that I can see the difference. I don't try to do too many things. So I knew the sleep mask was working, but we took it the next level and got the blackout blinds, and it's unbelievable. Now, why am I talking about getting better sleep? Well, the other thing that's happening right now, and I haven't changed anything in my nutritional workouts, is my body fat percentage. Literally now it's under 10% now. It literally dropped. And I can see it in my body. I can see it in my physique. And that's a correlation to getting sleep. My energy's through the roof. I'm starting to become more lean, and it happened literally in a week. And I'm not even joking when I say this, because one week I was 12%, 13%. And as soon as I got 8 hours, 9 hours, 8 hours, all those 2 to 3 hours, and everyone's going to be different because remember, I had all the other things in place, right? So literally in 1 week of installing those blackout blinds, my body fat percentage is now under 9%. I'm at 87 pounds, which I was trying to get down to 185 just for, for a special occasion that's coming up. So the point I'm trying to make is, this was all due to improving my sleep. And of course it makes sense because now looking back at the science, looking back at why sleep is so important, it's the critical piece that a lot of people miss when it comes to fat loss, right? If you're still struggling with the belly fat, or you're working out, you're doing everything that you're supposed to be doing, but your sleep is still not there. And we're not talking, and remember, I said that I was getting 8 to 7 hours sleep, but it was sleep with light blaring in my eyes the whole entire night, with which, after being here for 14 years, you kind of just get used to it, right? You get used to, oh yeah, I can sleep with that. You get used to sounds, you get used to the light, but the difference is night and day. And, as we age, of course, our metabolism changes, our hormonal shifts change. Recovery takes a little bit longer. So when you optimize your sleep, really and truly optimize it, do all the things that, blackout, I would like, sleep mask would be the very first thing to do before installing the blackout blinds, if that's not possible. But the blackout blinds, for me, was a big change. And then of course we can continue down the road with the bed. I mean, we've already done the temperature. Like we started to implement a lot of things that help you get better sleep, but the blinds was the biggest difference specifically for me. And the key fat burning hormones, what are they? Testosterone, growth hormones, and cortisol. Those are three that are key. And if your sleep is poor, your testosterone levels are going to dip, your cortisol levels are going to rise, and you're going to become more insulin resistant, making it very hard to burn fat, making it very hard to lose fat, particularly around the belly, right? So when you get good quality sleep, of course, we know the production of testosterone is going to be optimized, because that's when testosterone production happens in the morning during deep and REM sleep. We know that we're going to be able to build muscle, right? The muscle recovery, muscle builds when we're sleeping. That's when we recover. That's when it gets stronger. That's when, that's when it gets bigger, right? It's when we're sleeping. Our cortisol levels are going to drop, right? Of course, we need cortisol throughout the day, but your body isn't holding on to that belly fat. That's another thing that I see is, and I've known this for many years, when I don't get good sleep, the very first thing I see is right on the obliques, my obliques. I start to see my body holds fat around the obliques. That's cortisol. That's 100% the cortisol. And then insulin sensitivity starts to improve, right? It helps you regulate your blood sugar and prevents fat storage. So it's a game changer when it comes to kind of like, what is that last piece? It doesn't, and this shouldn't be the last piece, actually. This should be the first piece we should be looking at, because there's so many other things tied to sleep: health, muscle, hormones, like everything that we do is tied to everything that how we optimize our overall health is tied to your sleep. If you can get that right, and if you can get that going at the optimal 7 to 9 hours, you're going to start to see a lot of other things start to move optimally in your body, right? So let's talk about why sleep is key to fat loss, because sometimes people don't realize how important this is. Because when it comes to fat loss or fat burn, remember we went to fat loss, fat burn, but we're going to move into the fat loss portion of it. We tend to focus again on diet and nutrition, which is key. But your body is designed to follow a natural rhythm. It's called the circadian rhythm. Okay, a 24-hour internal clock that regulates your sleep wake cycle. So metabolism and other various bodily functions are all regulated by your circadian rhythm. So it's not just the wake. It's a lot of things in your body. So when you're sleeping well, your body's able to optimize all of the functions, including fat burning, right? But when you're sleep deprived, everything gets thrown off balance. So your metabolism, when you're sleep deprived, your body goes into energy conservation mode. I call it the survival mode, which everything starts to slow down, right? Your body's like, okay, I only got 2 hours sleep last night. Even though I was in bed for 8 hours, I only got 2 hours sleep. Okay, we gotta slow things down, man, because we have to conserve the energy, because we didn't get the sleep that we needed. So now we got to slow everything down so that funk can function today with 2 hours sleep. What does that mean? It makes it harder for me to burn calories, especially for us as we get older and our metabolism's already slowing down based on our lifestyle before. When our sleep stuff suffers, our body holds on to that fat, particularly around the belly, right? It's a survival mechanism. So not getting sleep, we're going to hold on to fat. Our circadian rhythm regulates our hormones, right? It regulates all the hormone release. So including the hormones that are responsible for appetite, for fat storage, for muscle repair. So when you disrupt this rhythm with really bad sleep habits, you're like, by staying up late, or for me, it's not staying up late, but it's, not getting the deep sleep, your hormones are going to be out of sync, and it's going to be hard for your body to burn fat. It's going to be hard to recover from workouts. It's going to be hard to get your hormones balanced. And then there's also the sleep cycles, right? I talked about deep sleep and REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep. Those are the two most important when it comes to us as we get older. A lot of things happen when we have those two deep sleep cycles, specifically during the night, because our body cycles through different stages, right, into deep sleep, and then REM sleep, and these are the stages critical for a lot of things, but also critical for fat loss and recovery. And so in deep sleep, this is when our body repairs our muscles, releases growth hormones, and it plays a key function in fat metabolism and muscle growth. That's deep sleep. REM sleep is the sleep that helps us focus on our brain. It helps with our brain health, and it also helps balance our key hormones, cortisol, leptin, which both play, like cortisol plays a role in fat storage, and leptin plays a role in our appetite. So when we have those things off kilter, you can see how our body works off kilter, right? Our metabolism slowing down, and we may even think that we're okay, like, because our bodies are so adaptive that even on 2 hours sleep, 3 hours sleep, 4 hours sleep, we could be telling ourselves, "Hey, I'm good. I'm good. I'm used to only getting 3 hours sleep. I'm used to only getting 4 hours sleep." But when you don't know what you don't know, like, oh, you're only working here at 30% of your optimal, because you're only getting 4 hours sleep every single night. And this is how you're working. And you think that that's good. But imagine if you got the 7 to 9 hours sleep. Imagine if you got the 2 to 3 hours of deep sleep, where you could be at physically, emotionally, mentally, the whole gamut. So again, the importance of poor sleep versus good sleep will have an effect on our ability to burn fat. And again, there's so many other things, but we're just focusing on the fat burning in today's call. Let's talk about hormonal imbalance and fat storage, because we did talk about what do we call these? We call these the triangle of hormonal oh God, I can't remember what I had. I had a good name for this, and I can't get. Okay, I'll have to find that name. But the three here, the triangle of fat loss, I guess, the hormonal triangle of fat loss is going to be cortisol, testosterone, and growth hormone. Okay, those are the three that we need. And so, again, when it comes to cortisol, it's the fat storage hormone. So when you're, and I'm going to continue on not getting the quality sleep. We talked about what it does to our fat loss, but this is now what it does to the three critical hormones. When you're not getting quality sleep, it throws everything out of balance. Cortisol, this is the biggest one when it comes to fat loss, because cortisol, when it's high and chronically high, is a fat storing stress hormone. So it is a stress hormone, yes, and it's released when our body's under stress, yes, and it's released throughout the day, 100%. Fight or flight, when we're working out. Right now, my cortisol levels are probably high because I have to focus. But when our cortisol levels stay elevated, specifically due to chronic sleep deprivation, this is the danger side effect is fat storage, right? And a lot of times it's the visceral fat, right, around the belly, the fat around the organs, right? Not just the regular fat, it's the visceral fat when you're not getting enough sleep. That's why a lot of people get health issues due to lack of sleep. So that's one, the cortisol gets thrown off whack. Testosterone, of course, our fat burning and muscle builder and just all overall hormone. When our testosterone, when we're not getting enough sleep, our testosterone production is sabotaged because it happens during the deep sleep part of our night. So if we're not getting deep sleep, yeah, we could be in bed for 8 hours. But if you're not getting deep sleep, then that production doesn't happen. You know, the whole starting from the hypothalamus and the whole flow all the way down to the testes, it won't happen. It needs that deep sleep. It needs the right environment to start the process. The right environment's not there. It's not going to happen on a daily basis, and that's going to sabotage your testosterone production, and in turn it will sabotage your ability to build more muscle, which increases your metabolism. And when your metabolism's increased, it's going to increase the possibility of losing more fat. When your testosterone levels drop, you increase fat storage, right? Your metabolism is reduced, and it's very difficult to build muscle. So that's the second thing. The third hormone, there's four, but the third hormone is the growth hormone. So that's a fat metabolizing hormone, right? GH is what it's called. It's released in high qualities during sleep. So there's certain times throughout the day when we work out, but specifically the type of workouts we do, and then during sleep. It's one of the body's most potent fat burning hormones is GH, growth hormone. And it also helps your body repair and build muscle, and it aids in the breaking down of fat for energy. So without sleep, your growth hormones plummet. And then we have insulin resistance, which has a sleep fat connection. Another major consequence of poor sleep is the development of insulin resistance, right? So insulin is the hormone that helps your body regulate glucose for energy. But when you're well rested, your body uses insulin efficiently, right? Because we do need it, so our body uses it. But when you're sleep deprived, you're gonna have less insulin. You're gonna be less sensitive to insulin, which causes your body to store more fat. So I said the triangle, but it's four. It's cortisol, testosterone, growth hormone, and insulin. Those are the four. And then of course there's other factors that happen as we age, right? As we age, we need to really focus more on sleep. We also have the reduced muscle mass, so our metabolism doesn't kickstart as much, right? We're not metabolic, so we have to build more muscle. And then we just have to make sure that we focus on our cortisol throughout the day. So all of this relates to what we're talking about today, which is fat loss, right? We have to make sure that we're getting quality sleep. It's the missing link to the fat loss journey. Now, can you lose fat without getting 7 to 9 hours sleep? Sure, but at some point it's going to stop, right? Specifically because the sleep has its tentacles in so many different things that will affect and again, we're just talking fat loss, but there's a host of other things. So if you're not addressing your sleep, then you're just fighting an uphill battle, right? You're going to continuously try to work out harder, try to eat less. You're just going to be going through this cycle of like, things aren't working out here. Why are things not working out, man? Like, why I'm getting the 8 hours sleep. Are you getting 8 hours sleep? Like, do you honestly know that you're getting that much sleep? You could be in bed, being in bed for 8 hours and actually getting that REM and deep sleep are two totally different things. So when we get better sleep, we're going to increase our metabolism. So let's talk about, I talked about cortisol, right? I talked about these three and how they're fat burning. And so we really truly talked about that during the last part of this. Okay, so let's think about ways to keep our cortisol in check, right? So that our sleep quality improves. So again, I'm gonna focus more on the sleep portion of this because we know that how cortisol is key, right? Chronic stress or lack of sleep is going to affect our body's response to storing fat. Okay. And again, most of this happens in our abdominal region. Okay. So, how do we get our cortisol levels in check? So, number one is establishing a sleep routine, right? A consistent sleep schedule helps your cortisol levels, helps regulate them, right? Because remember, if you're in constant, think about this, like if you're always thinking about what to do tomorrow, or you're at work and there's a big project happening or something happens in your life or what have you, you're taking those things to bed, right? You're taking those thoughts to bed. Your mind's always going. So when we can create a consistent sleep schedule, like for me, my consistent sleep schedule is 10 to 6, right? And sometimes it's 9:45, sometimes it's 10:15, sometimes it's like this morning I got up at 5:30, but 10 to 6 is the schedule that this is it. Like I don't need to do anything after 10 o'clock, and I want to be up. So if I'm up earlier, I'm up earlier, but 10 to 6 allows me to have a better day, right? Overall better day, 100%, right? It's not about this getting up at 4 o'clock thing. If you're not getting, the deep sleep that you need, then getting up at 4 o'clock isn't going to work unless you go to bed at 8. So whatever that is, for me, it's 10 to 6, but it could be 8 to whatever it is. But when you go to bed and wake up at the same time, it's your body starts to maintain a natural cortisol rhythm, right? Peaks in the morning, because that's generally what happens. Your cortisol peaks in the morning when you wake up. Your cortisol levels are high. You're up. Okay, let's go. Let's do this. And throughout the day, it should be dropping. So by the time you go to bed, you journal, right? You're going to write down the 3 things that you have to do for the next day. So you write that down so you don't have to think about that when you go to bed. Okay, I got to pick up my daughter here. I got a meeting with my boss tomorrow. So this is what I'm going to talk about, blah, 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 blah. And now you've got all those 3 things that you're probably going to go to bed with already down, and you have the plan of attack. So you don't have to think about that because you've already addressed it. And when you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. I already addressed all of these things. I got my plan of attack and I'm ready to go. Right. So not only are you maintaining a natural cortisol rhythm, but you're also setting yourself up for a win and a better sleep. Right. So that's number one. We want to keep our cortisol from spiking at night. And I'm assuming that when I'm sleeping and the light's coming in, that's peaking my cortisol levels 100%. So if I'm sleeping in my bed and I got light flashing, and then the actual reason why I got the mask, now I remember, is because Angela reads at night. So she reads at night and she has that orange light when she reads in bed. And so I'm like, I can't do this. I gotta get a mask. That's why I got the mask the very first time. And then I start to realize that it's actually working. But like my phone is all downstairs. Like I don't bring anything to bed. My phone's downstairs. Nothing's there except Angela but now I wait for Angela to go to bed first. So by the time I get to bed, she's already sleeping. But that's the point. So I want to establish a routine. Routine is huge. Our bodies need routine. Number 2 is create a stress-free evening environment, right? Start with relaxation. If it's breathing, if it's meditation, if it's light stretching, just start to bring the cortisol levels down. Prepare for a restful sleep. That's why I said journal, right? What are the 3 things I need to get done for tomorrow? It doesn't matter if it's work related, just life. Like what are the 3 things that I want to write down so I don't bring it to bed? What this is going to do is it's going to give you're setting yourself up for a better restful sleep, right? And what that does is avoid stressors like thinking about work or being like the last thing you want to be doing is being on the phone before you go to bed. Like that's the last thing you want to do. The other last thing you want to do is have any intense discussions with your loved ones or with your kids or with anybody before you go to bed. Do not go to bed without addressing whatever that is. Don't bring it to bed because that's going to affect your sleep, right? Whether it's with your kids or not. If you just shout at your kids, go back. Okay, listen, brother, man, sorry about that. Or listen, let's talk this through. And you know what I mean? Like communicate in that way, because it's not just about you, but it's about the other person also feeling like, okay, I can also get sleep, right? And no stimulating shows. Like, here's the other thing too for me and Angela. We like to watch murder, like mystery, not mystery documentaries, like detective documentaries, you know, like all of those things. We love that, but that's just what we do. But sometimes it gets a lot. Like there's some shows that are just too much. Even for me, I'm like, Angela, this is too much. We got to stop this because this like world's worst roommate or whatever it was that I was watching, it was too much for me. I'm like, honey, this is too much. I can't watch this right now. Let's just wait. And so she's like, really? I'm like, yeah, man, it's too deep. So those are things that like, I know that if I bring that to bed, that's the other thing that's going to happen. It's going to swirl in my mind. And then also the sleep environment, right? At the very beginning, I talked about the blackout blinds. I talked about the mask. Like I honestly always put that aside. Like I was like, oh, blackout blinds, are they really? But I'm telling you, it is a massive, and so many people keep telling me this, and I keep kind of pushing it. And finally, I was like, you know what? I have to make a difference here. I have to do something here. Dark, cool, quiet room, no TV. Cortisol will naturally decrease, and it will promote a deeper sleep, preventing all that constant fat storage, like your body in constant fat storage, even if you think you're sleeping. Okay, so that's cortisol. So that's how we get our cortisol levels in check. What about testosterone, right? Well, again, we talked about deep sleep, right? That's when testosterone production happens. That's when that whole production happens in an environment where your body's in a deep sleep state. So again, all that is doing is when you set up that environment, the sleep environment, when you don't have outside forces affecting your cortisol or what have you, when your mind is relaxed as you go to bed, you're going to increase the chances of deep sleep. Of course, you have to track that. You can't assume, you can't think, because a lot of people, men specifically, men and women, it doesn't matter, but we're speaking to men here, so will think they're getting enough sleep. Well, like me, oh yeah, I get 7-9 hours sleep, guys. I get 7-9 hours sleep. Meanwhile, my Whoop is telling me 2 hours, and here I am fighting with my Whoop. It's the Whoop's fault. It's not Funk's fault. It's the Whoop. I'm blaming it on the Whoop. Can you believe this? I'm blaming this on the Whoop. I'm saying, no way. My Whoop's broken. I'm in bed for 7-9 hours, right? Playing these games. These are just games I'm playing with myself, right? I'm playing games, telling myself that I'm right, and it's the Whoop that's wrong. And lo and behold, in deep down, I knew I had to make a change, right? Deep down, I knew I had to make a change. And that was a change, right? I wasn't blaming it on technology. I was blaming it on, am I really doing everything I need to do in order to optimize my sleep? Am I doing everything? Is everything in check, 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 check? Because if everything is not check, 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 then I can't blame it on this. I only can blame it on this when everything's checked off, and not everything was checked off. So that was that was key. And here's how lack of sleep affects your testosterone levels. There has been studies that show that just 5 days of 4 hours, or I think it's even 5 hours, but I'm going to say 4 hours of sleep or less will drop your testosterone levels immensely. Just 4 days straight of only getting 4 hours. Like sleep deprivation and testosterone, there's been many studies. It will accelerate the decline of your testosterone like nothing else. And you won't be able to build muscle, and you won't be able to lose fat, right? That's how important sleep is when it comes to testosterone, let alone building muscle, right? Because one of the other things we want to do here is build muscle, sarcopenia. And testosterone, yes, it's essential for muscle building, but the environment, right? If we're not in that deep in REM sleep, then our muscles don't get a chance to recover. We need them to remember we're breaking them down and creating a catabolic environment, which is tearing down muscle fibers and tissue and breaking it down. It's so funny. Angela and I had a discussion last night about um, lifting techniques. And there's 3 different types of lifting techniques. There's the short technique. I'm just gonna use biceps for a second. Like there's just the short lifting technique here. Then there's the full range of motion, and then there's the stretched range, right? So you're only lifting just down here, partials, but your muscles are in a stretched environment. And I think in over 40 muscle, we have a few phases that I bring that out in the stretch environment, also in the resistance band too, because I really love training in the stretched environment when you can pull and feel the stretch, and then you're just doing shorter partials. It would be called partials, but you're not doing partials up here. You're doing partials in the stretched environment. So anyways, we're having a discussion about that yesterday because it was something we were watching, and then Angela's like, yeah, well, you can't really tear muscle. Like you can do a lot with the shorter partials, but you're not really tearing or damaging muscle there as much as you can in the stretched. And I'm like, oh wow, she pulled a rabbit out of a hat there. Yeah, that's exactly it. Because we're trying to tear and break down muscle fibers. And she's like, yeah, but you can't really tear and break down muscle fibers that much when you do the short. And you can sometimes in the full range. But when she was bodybuilding, she used stretched. I love the stretch. I mean, even for all these years, I like training in that stretched the stretched lengthened stretch. Anyways, the point being is, it once again it ignites the, oh yeah, that's right, we're trying to tear and damage muscle in our workouts, right? That's why if you're still using 20-pound dumbbells doing bicep curls 12 phases later, you're not doing anything, right? We want to tear and damage to force our body and our muscles to repair, specifically at this age. And that only happens during the environment. When this happens is during sleep, right? Obviously you need the nutrition, you need all those things to fuel it and say, okay, we're ready. We got deep sleep. Do we got the nutrition? Do we got the protein that we need? Yeah, we got protein. Do we got all these, magnesium? Do we got all this stuff that we got, the micronutrients? Okay, great. Let's start this repair so that the next time funk works out, we're ready. We're ready to handle it. So that only happens with enough deep sleep. Okay. So again, we really and truly need that for muscle building. But then for fat loss, the potential, the higher your testosterone levels are, the lower your cortisol levels are, that's going to promote more fat burn, right? Particularly the visceral fat. That's the key here. Sleep and the decrease of visceral fat, the increase of the ability to lose fat. That's what happens when you're getting the quality sleep. Okay. And of course, improve recovery, enhance strength and performance, all is based on the recovery that you get. But now let's move into insulin resistance and insulin sensitivity and fat storage, because insulin is that hormone that's responsible for regulating our sugar levels and helping your cells use glucose for energy, right? So we need glucose for energy. So when you eat, insulin helps shuttle nutrients into your cells to be used for energy. However, when insulin isn't working efficiently due to poor sleep and other reasons, your body starts to store glucose as fat, right? And for us, it happens around the belly. So that sleep deprivation and insulin resistance, man, this is like lack of sleep 100% will lead to insulin resistance. Not even a question. This is like based on research, based on science, based on how our body's built. When you don't have enough sleep, your body's cell hormone, which is insulin, is less, or your body's cells are less responsive to insulin. And when this happens, your glucose is going to start to build up in your blood, and your body will convert the excess glucose into fat, right? And for us, I mean, it's around all the areas, but for us, man, it's usually in our abdominal region. And over time, when you continue to become insulin resistant, that leads to weight gain, that leads to belly fat gain, that leads to type 2 diabetes, pre-diabetic. Like that's what happens. And then obviously blocks your testosterone and everything else happens, right? So that's one thing in regards to insulin. But here's another thing. When you don't get sleep, and I'm sure some of you have experienced this, your hunger and cravings. There's two hormones, ghrelin and leptin. They're responsible for hunger and satiety, right? So sleep deprivation will increase your ghrelin hormone, which is the hunger hormone. You'll always feel hungry. It'll decrease your leptin. Leptin is the hormone that signals that you're full, right? So making you eat more. Also, you feel like you crave a lot of sugar. You find sometimes when you haven't slept really well, the next day you want really like simple carbs, not complex carbs, simple carbs. You want sugar, salt, high caloric foods, right? And sometimes you don't even realize that your body is just like I need it, like you want it, right? You're craving it. And so this vicious cycle happens when you have poor sleep. And that causes insulin resistance, right? The poor sleep, the bad food, insulin resistance, weight gain, belly fat gain, etc. Right? So those two hormones also play a huge part in lack of sleep. But better sleep will help you control your blood sugar. Better sleep will help you control your hunger cravings. And better sleep will help you with belly fat because when you get better sleep, you're going to be more responsive to insulin, right? We talked about that. Your body's going to be more responsive. Your body's going to say, listen, let's use this glucose for energy. Let's not store it for fat. And let's, move it to where it needs to go. It will also regulate your blood sugar levels as well, which will prevent fat storage and will support your overall metabolic health. But then it reduces cravings and better appetite control. Because again, when you get better sleep, you're able to make better food choices. Your hormones, ghrelin and leptin, are going to be leveled off. And then of course, lower belly fat, right? So improved insulin sensitivity from getting enough sleep will prevent that excess glucose being stored, right? Specifically around the belly. So the hormonal triangle of fat loss, that's what it was, right? The hormonal triangle of fat loss. We've got cortisol, we've got testosterone, we've got insulin. Those are the three biggies. So far, hopefully, we've gone through the importance of getting sleep, right? Like how it affects the important hormones that are related to fat loss, right? But now let's talk about, it's not about hours. Let's talk about quantity over quality of sleep because there's a difference. And I talked about that difference because many people think that as long as they're getting 7 to 8 hours sleep, which means 7 to 8 hours in bed, that they're doing everything right. But sleep quantity doesn't always translate to sleep quality because I am a massive example of that. I was in bed for 7 to 9 hours every night, but that was the quantity of sleep. That was the quantity of sleep. That wasn't the quality of sleep. I wasn't getting any quality. I wasn't getting deep sleep. I wasn't getting the restorative sleep stages that happen. So yes, of course I have good nutrition and all of those things, but I'm at a point in my health and fitness that aside from health and fitness, I want to not maintain, but get to a point where my fat storage is where I want it to be. That's just where I want it to be. And I have to do certain things and I can only go so far. Like, you can only go so far with nutrition and workouts, right? If everything else isn't in place, like I can keep crushing workouts and nutrition every single day. But if my sleep isn't right, I'm going to hit a point where nothing else is going to happen. The muscle, it's going to be very difficult to build more muscle. Fat loss can be very difficult to get under 10% body fat. A lot of health, etc. So I need to get quality because quality sleep is going to make the difference and take me from here to here. And we all have our points where, okay, I've been hitting this so far. Maybe I'm at 20% body fat, whatever it is, but I need to make a difference, right? Because I've been doing this for so long. I've been working out for so long that my body's at this stage. But it doesn't matter whether it's 10% body fat, 20%, doesn't matter what the goal is. After a while, you're going to just keep doing, you're going to keep going, and then it's going to frustrate you, and then you're going to stop. Because you're like, man, I'm doing everything, and just my body won't change. Quantity of sleep refers to the total time you spend in bed. Okay? That's it. That's the quantity. So it doesn't necessarily indicate the quality. Okay? Some people use alcohol. I remember back in the day when I would go out for a night and just get absolutely hammered and then pass out get up 7 hours, 8 hours later and think that that was good sleep. Yeah, well, I was, passed out for 8 hours, so I got good sleep. No, I was knocked out for 8 hours. I had a concussion for 8 hours because that's really what it is. Related analogy. But quality, that's when our body cycles through all the necessary stages of sleep. Light sleep, deep sleep, REM sleep, all crucial for what we just talked about, fat loss, hormonal balance, and muscle repair, right? And without quality, your body's missing on all the benefits that we get from deep and REM sleep. So let's talk about the differences between deep and REM sleep, because I have brought that up. So your sleep cycles are divided into three main stages. Okay, three main stages, but I'm sure there's other ones in between. I'm not an 100% sleep expert, but I do have some. I have done certifications in sleep, but this is not what I do forever. But there's light sleep, there's deep sleep, and then there's REM, which is rapid eye movement. And each one of these stages have a purpose in our body's recovery. But deep sleep and REM sleep that's where the magic happens. So deep sleep, this is the most restorative sleep. So if you have a Whoop and you look at your Whoop, read, or you could have an Aura, you can have I don't know, whatever you use, but generally speaking, your wearable should be able to tell you, if it tracks sleep, how much REM and deep sleep you get, right? So just trying to figure this out here. If I look at sleep here, this tells me, okay, here we go. This tells me that my full restorative sleep was 3 hours and 20 minutes. Probably, it looks like about an hour and 20 minutes of that was deep sleep, and 2 hours of that was REM sleep. So deep sleep is the most restorative stage of sleep. This is where our bodies repairs tissues, it strengthens the immune system, it releases growth hormones. And for men over 40, growth hormones is a key player in fat metabolism and muscle recovery. Deep sleep is also when your body temperature drops, right? And your heart rate and breathing slows down, which is perfect for promoting fat loss and fat burning. The release of growth hormones happens during deep sleep, and that's essential for muscle repair, fat breakdown, and of course, keeping belly fat at bay. So without enough deep sleep, your body doesn't produce a sufficient amount of growth hormone. Now, at this point in the conversation, don't ask me how much you want, how much you need, because your only goal right now is to increase that, right? Keep increasing. Know where you're at now and increase it on a nightly basis, as opposed to saying, okay, I'm trying to get to 3 hours, so I'm trying to get to 2 hours. Because sometimes when you see that, it's like, oh, that's too far. It's going to take too long. All you want to do is see incremental increases. That's how I did. I don't even think about, your wearable is going to tell you if it's sufficient or not. Or whatever you use to Aura ring or whatever you use, it's going to tell you where you're at. All you need to do is work on increasing your deep sleep. And so, like I said, deep sleep, growth hormones, body temperature, immune system, muscle repair, fat breakdown. That's that stage. Then you get into REM sleep. This is the stage where, man, but we're going to talk about the dreams in a second, because, man, this is blowing me away. But REM sleep is when your brain's most active, right? It's crucial for mental recovery. So your REM sleep is mental recovery, emotional regulation, and it's the stage where dreaming occurs. I am telling you right now, guys, I have not had so many dreams in years. It's literally every night I feel like I'm dreaming 4 or 5 times that I can remember, right? Of course, there's sometimes you don't remember your dreams, of course, but my REM sleep, as this is showing me, is so much that I'm literally, it's like every time I close my eyes, I feel like I'm dreaming again. I have crazy dream stories that I remember, and this happens during REM. So although REM sleep is associated with brain health, it's also important for regulating our cortisol levels, which is critical for keeping, of course, stress-induced fat loss. But we want that adequate REM because it's going to balance our hormones, leptin and ghrelin. It's going to help with our testosterone release production, and it's going to regulate our cortisol levels. So you know that you're getting good sleep, or at least you had REM if you're dreaming, if you have dreams. And I haven't had dreams in God knows how long. And now over the last week, or it's probably been about 2 weeks now that we've had those up. Um, Man, it's like my dreams are insane, like unbelievable, just dreaming, 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 dreaming. So we want to get those two. Those are the two main stages that we want to focus on, because those are stages where all the magic happens, right? It's those two stages: deep sleep and REM, deep sleep and REM. Because here's the thing: I know that in one of my conversations with Nick Lamb, who we're doing a sleep challenge together with, he's the online sleep coach. He even mentioned, like, I know most people think 7 to 9 hours sleep, and yes, that's great. That's the quantity, but it is quality. Like if you're getting, and I don't know how this happens, but if you're getting 5 hours sleep, but 3 of those hours are broken up into deep sleep and REM sleep, then you don't need 8 hours sleep, right? Because in essence, when I look at my Whoop, when I'm getting 3 hours, it's telling me, oh, this is great. This is great. You're doing great. You're doing great. You're doing great. You're actually ahead of the game, blah, 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 right? With our restorative sleep. So I read it and it tells me this. Some days it's on and off, but it tells me this. So I know I'm getting enough of the restorative sleep based on what my Whoop is saying. But let's say I'm only in bed for 5 hours, but I still get 3 hours, right? That's one of the things that Nick said. It's like you do say 7 9 hours, but it's actually the quality that's more important than anything. And if your quality of sleep is REM and deep is still high, then who's to say you do need that extra 8 hours? Sure, that could help, but the point I'm trying to make is we're going to set ourselves up for success, right? We want to put ourselves in a place where if I know that if we get 7 to 9 hours sleep, that's going to give me the best ability to get that light, deep REM, right? And that's where we want to put ourselves. We don't want to cut anything short, and that just means that we have to change our lifestyle. It means that we have to make sleep a priority, right? And honestly, think about, like, if we think back, like, what are we missing in the extra 2 or 3 hours that we stay up? What are we missing in the extra hour that we get up early? You know what I mean? Like, why can't we move things around and have people around us understand that that's what we're going to do? Again, it takes time, it takes effort, but in general, that's where we want to get to: 7 to 9 hours sleep, and because your health, it relies on this. Like your health. I'm just talking the fat loss portion of it, but sleep is your entire health. So let's go to how to assess your sleep quality. So again, there's different ways to assess your sleep quality. I use the Whoop strap just because I've been using the Whoop strap forever. It's a popular way for athletes and health enthusiasts. Again, I thought the Whoop strap was broken, but it was me that was broken. So I'm enjoying it. I'm actually enjoying it now, because I learned that it wasn't that. But there's a lot of things in there, specifically the deep and REM sleep that it tracks, and also now it's giving you more. Like, it gives you notifications, and kind of tries to help you set up your own sleep environment, routine. Tonight's sleep for me would be better at 7:30, going to bed at 7:30 and getting up at 6:30. But again, my sleep hasn't updated yet, but that's what it tells you. It kind of gives you, like, oh, what's the tonight's sleep should be this is my recommended time. So sometimes you can do it. Again, tonight I'm going to a Halloween party, so that's not going to happen. But the point is, Whoop does this. I know the Aura ring. I haven't used an Aura ring, but a lot of people do. It's a sleek ring. It's a wearable device that monitors sleep cycles. So it monitors your sleep cycles, monitors your body temperature, heart rate, and a lot more. So it also gives you a detailed breakdown on how much time you spend in each stage. So the Aura ring is also really good. And then, of course, there's sleep apps out there that you can use as well. Personally, I don't like using something where the phone's involved, because that's a whole other thing we get into. Nick Pinot, I have a podcast episode on EMF with Nick Pinot, the EMF guy. If you look back, EMF, you'll see what those electronic magnetic somethings, or other field forces, whatever, but that comes from the phone. Like right now, and that hampers sleep, and a whole lot of other things. So I don't personally like using something where I have to have the phone on me at all times. That's why I'm doing that's why with this steps that I've been counting, yes, if I had the phone on me all day, I could go through and do steps all day, but I don't want to be carrying my phone all day, let alone bringing it upstairs or whenever. But now Whoop has the steps. But my point is, I don't generally like using apps because one of the things that you don't want to do is bring your phone to your bedroom. That's one thing you don't want to do because it emits EMFs. That's a whole other story. But of course, if you have to, just to start getting the tracking, there are smartphone apps that happen. There are smart watches. There's phone sensors. There's other things I'm sure that you can get. But I generally do not bring my phone to the bedroom at all, let alone have it on and using throughout the day. But I'm sure there's other tools that are out there. Just the two for sure that I know that are really good are Whoop and Aura. But that's the key. We want to track, right? We don't want to assume. We want to track. We want to make decisions from data. It's funny, from going to school, from reigniting my business acumen, and just everything that I do now is based on data. Like I need data before I make a decision. Like the calories, for instance, all those things that we were talking about over the last like 3 or 4 months. It's driven from data. I can't keep assuming things because then you make these types of mistakes where you throw something out that was actually working quite well, right? So I need to see the data. That's why with testosterone, that's why with cortisol, that's why we get our blood work done. That's why we go for, getting our health and all of that things checked out, because that data is going to help us drive our decisions, right? So, and we need that. We can't assume things. We're past that time now. We got to get some real data to make strategic decisions. So that's why it's very important that if you're going to take this sleep seriously, which I think everyone should, you need something to track your sleep, right? You need something to track and ensure that you are getting the sleep you need from the work that you're putting in. So once again, the hormones that we're looking at: testosterone, cortisol, insulin, the increased fat oxidation that happens when we are in deep sleep, the recovery in muscle growth. All of these things happen when we are sleeping. So let's finally go through some of the things you can do to set up a sleep environment. Like I said, creating the perfect sleep environment, blackout blinds, sleep masks. One of the biggest factors that sabotage your sleep is light exposure, right? I talked about that at the very beginning. Even a small amount of light, like literally I had to, even sometimes the cats will run up and in and out the room sometimes, and then a little light will blare in. I have to close that door all the time because even a small, tiny bit, sometimes you have night lights that are in your bedroom, you got to turn those off. A small amount of light in your bedroom, whether it's street lights, whether it's electronics, whether it's an alarm clock, even the alarm clock. The last place we stayed, there's an alarm clock that was just blaring, and I had to turn down the thing and turn it around because I don't want anything to interfere with my body's ability to fall asleep, because that sabotages the restorative sleep, any type of light, because light's exposure affects melatonin production, which is your hormone's ability to regulate the sleep wake cycle, melatonin. So if there's light coming in, then melatonin is going to be suppressed. Melatonin's our natural sleep hormone. So melatonin is only produced in the dark. So remember we talked about the circadian rhythm and the fact that, okay, it's dark. Okay, this is the right environment, right? So even downstairs, at about 9 o'clock, I tell Angela, okay, we got to turn off all the lights. If we're watching TV, make sure all the other lights are off, right? Because I want to start getting my body into this. Okay, it's time to sleep, right? That's a signal. Too much light in your environment, your body's going to struggle to produce enough melatonin, and that's going to have a restless sleep, or you're going to have problems falling asleep, right? And again, I talked about my story. So yeah, artificial lights, blue light. So any light that's emitted from phones or tablets or computers, that's going to be disruptive. It tricks the brain into thinking it's still daylight. That's what happens when you have artificial light, or you have blue light, or even small lights. Your body thinks that it's daytime, even the smallest. So the solution, eliminate as much light as possible, period. In your bedroom specifically. Install the blinds, cover all lights. You don't need any light in your bedroom. This is a sleep environment. Okay. Total darkness is the best if you can. And that's what I was getting in Texas. It was literally pitch dark. The only time it was light when I had to get up, go outside to go pee and walk all the way down and then come back in. But the stars were beautiful out there in Big Bend. So yeah, that's number one. You want to get rid of all light as possible in the bedroom. You want to master your sleep routine, right? The sleep routine, right? So 30 minutes pre-bed, designed to reduce stress, calm your mind, prepare your body. So at least 30 minutes before, start getting into that nice alpha sleep routine, right? Journaling. What are you going to do the next day? Turn off your screens. I would do that about an hour before. Any stretching or breathing or light mobility, if that's what you want, just to loosen up any tight muscles, just to get more relaxed. Some deep breathing is really good. 4-7-8. I don't know if you guys done the breathing. I think I have a 4-7-8 breathing technique, and I have a sleep breathing technique in the breathing routines that I have, which is great. And then even reading. Now you can read. There are lights. Like Angela has the orange light that she uses to read in bed. It's just too much light for me. But reading or meditating is a nice way to, not your screen, like actually reading an actual book, like the physical book, reading a physical book. Nothing that involves screens. This is something that's light, nothing hard, nothing work related, right? Nothing like you're trying to learn something. Just read something nice, practice meditation, write in your gratitude journal, clear your mind of any lingering stresses or worries. And then that's going to prepare you to sleep, right? And what you want to do is you want to prepare your body to sleep. And by doing this, you need to be consistent. This is a consistency thing. Yes, sure. Like tonight, I'm going to a Halloween party. So I'm not getting to bed probably till 2 o'clock, maybe 3. And then, so that's 2, 3 o'clock. I'm going to get up tomorrow. So I'm not going to get 8. I'm not going to get my sleep's going to be very horrible tonight. I know that though. I understand that that's going to happen. Tomorrow's UFC, which means that, but it's a daytime. So we're good there. So I can catch up. Well, not catch up. There's no catching up. Sorry. No catching up. So I can get back on track. There's no catching up on sleep. By the way, you can't catch up on lost sleep. That's why sleep's so important. You can't catch up on it. So I'm going to get good sleep tomorrow night. But next week I have the UFC. I'm working the Edmonton card. So that's generally not going to be great. First couple of days will be, but fight night is going to be absolutely horrible because I'm usually up from you're up till very, very late. But I already know that. So the consistency comes with everything in between those blips, right? You're gonna have blips in your sleep cycle. There's gonna be blips. There's gonna be times where you just, okay, I'm not gonna get sleep. Cool. I understand that. It's not going to happen tomorrow. And tomorrow I'm going to feel it. I understand that. And tomorrow I'm going to be prepared because I know I'll probably feel like eating chocolate or salt or whatever, but I know that that's because of my sleep. Like when you understand why things are happening, you won't succumb. You're less likely to succumb to the cravings or whatever it is, right? You're more understanding like, okay, well, I didn't get a good sleep last night. That's why I'm kind of feeling a little whatever. So maybe I'll have a little nap, drink a little bit more water, really get good nutrient dense foods in me, right? Like when you understand that, man, it makes life much, much easier. So knowing that those blips will happen, but staying consistent, that's going to help you with your fat burning and fat loss, can help you with your overall health. And yes, you can optimize your sleep through A's. I still use Sleep Shred. I love Sleep Shred. I still use Sleep Shred every single night. I have magnesium, Sleep Shred, protein. Those are 3 things that protein, Sleep Shred, magnesium. Sleep's beautiful. But the difference is, because even when I was using Sleep Shred, I was still not getting the deep sleep. So that you can see where supplementation is always the answer to that, right? This is even my own supplement. It's not always the answer. When you have everything else in place, then it can just make things a little bit more, it can optimize things a little bit more, but you still have to have everything else in place. Alpha Sleep Shred is not going to be your answer to deep and REM sleep. Everything else around it will be, right? So, magnesium is also good. So in the end, you want to set yourself up for success. And by doing that, you're going to start. I'm telling you right now, if you haven't done this, this is going to make a massive difference, right? If you haven't focused on your REM sleep, man, even just getting more REM sleep, your clarity, mental clarity is there, stress reduction, anxiety reduces, right? Like you're just able to handle things more, man. I'm telling you, you're able to handle life more when you have that sleep. Mental recovery is better, lower cortisol, being able to bounce your cortisol, and if, not to mention just your training is going to be that much better. So, hopefully that makes sense. My message to everybody who's on this call is to lean into, if you haven't, sleep. And when I say lean into, get something to track, and then most importantly, get blackout blinds. Okay, okay. The end of this, the moral of the story: blackout blinds. If you don't get blackout blinds, then get the sleep mask. And if you've done both of those things, then start tracking the quality. And if all of those things are in place, then you probably are feeling pretty good, right? You're probably feeling pretty good. And if you're still struggling, but all of the sleep side's in place, then we got to look at something else. But this, I'm telling you, sleep's the foundation of everything that we do. Our overall health, our overall mental capacity, emotional capacity, hormonal health, it's all due to sleep. And we always push that to the side. In fact, we always leave that to the end. It's like the last thing. And in some cases, we don't even address it. We always assume. So we want real data from tracking devices. And then we want to start prioritizing our sleep, making it a priority, no matter what. Like, if you want to be great at work, you got to get good sleep, man. Right? You got to just prioritize, cut all the loose ends that aren't giving you any that aren't moving your life in where you want to go, right? Like if it's keeping you stagnated, it's time to cut. I got to stop doing that, man. That's not working. Oh yeah, I got to stop doing that. That's not bringing me closer to where we want. That's gonna free up some time for you to sleep better. So that's it, guys. Hopefully you learned some things. Take care. Have a great day. Have an amazing weekend, and we'll talk soon. Get it done.